Come on, let's turn our energy level up. Good afternoon, everybody. I want us, if we can, New Birth, we really got to make some noise. I believe today God is proud of us for really demonstrating what the church is supposed to look like. Come on, let's make some noise as we can. Some years ago, an incredible, smart, super bad sister by the name of Michelle Alexander wrote a book entitled The New Jim Crow. When she wrote that book, she was talking about how it is that the prison systems have become the 21st century version of plantations. We've got over 1 million black people under penal supervision and are being flushed down the prison pipeline. And somehow or another, the churches have become muted. I asked myself when a week ago, Nipsey Hussle was killed and his funeral was in the Staples Center, I asked myself, what church leader could have a funeral in the Staples Center? What church ministry would in fact cause pause in over 24 cities to say this is what community development is supposed to look like? And this is how it is that you reach a masses of a generation that feels disconnected and uninvolved. I want history to be able to record that in 2019, the most vocal and active and relevant church in the nation was none other than New Birth Missionary Baptist Church. This is a church that is on the front line pushing the envelope for advancement in urban centers. To note that we set a bar for this Lenten season that goes from Ash Wednesday to Resurrection Sunday is 40 days. And we put ourselves in a place because it's our first time ever doing anything on this wise that we wanted to collect $40,000 to help bail nonviolent offenders out of jail. I'm pleased to report that the good, hard-working people of New Birth have collected not $40,000, but $120,000. There's so many nameless and faceless people who are involved, but I want to publicly appreciate the over 84 volunteers who put their hand to the plow to make this work. All of you who are around the room who have worked to make this day happen, would you lift your hand for me, please? Let's make some noise for all of them. The fastest growing prison population in America, quietly, is that of young women. Young women between the ages of 18 and 24. And so we were intentional to make sure that in doing this bailout, that our sisters were not ignored. And so today you're going to be introduced to a number of them who have become a part of this program. It was our initial intent that this would just impact DeKalb County. And we had no idea that the demand and the need was so great, so necessary, and so urgent that today not only did we partner with DeKalb County, but with Fulton County, Gwinnett County, and Rockdale County. Would you give all of them applause for participating with us? All of those who are the beneficiaries of this program are nonviolent offenders. Anywhere between theft, trespassing, forgery, drug possession, but no violent offenders are a part of this program. We're believing that there was low-hanging fruit that is easy and accessible for us to be able to move towards. I'm grateful that even outside of what it is that we were able to receive in our coffers and our offering plates, we owe a great deal of gratitude and thanksgiving to countless numbers of our online viewers. New Birth is a local church making a global impact. And every Sunday, every Tuesday, we have somewhere in the orbit of 24 to 32,000 people who watch us around the world. They saw the vision and they invested in it. I would be derelict of responsibility to not thank them. Would you join me to thank those who watch from around the country? is our first overture into this enterprise, and so we also want to thank our partners, Free at Last Bail Bonds, which is an African-American Christian-based company. Come on, give them applause. Attorney Yvonne Davis, who volunteered her services, her hours, and helped us in a meaningful and coordinated effort. I do not want you to think that this is just a warm and fuzzy feel-good moment. What it is that we are endeavoring to do is really to provide services. So you'll see around the circumference of this room, we have partnered with 20 service providers in the Atlanta metropolitan area to do wraparound for these returning citizens for job training and for job placement so that they are not back in the system without giving a fair shake. Martin Luther King Jr. said that poverty is the bride of crime. That wherever it is that you see crime, you see poverty. And the reality is that so many of our young people just want an opportunity for meaningful employment so that, in the words of Booker T. Washington, they can pull themselves up by their own bootstraps. Just for finding the courage to start their life again is worthy of giving God glory. I want you to please give them high commendation for trying life again. These wraparound services include job training, job placement, education, drug treatment, family counseling, mental health assessment, grief support, parental services, and housing. For all of those who are around us, these entities came from near and far because they believed in the vision and believed that this was necessary for us to do. For all of our partners on the outliers, would you give them an applause of affirmation? Long after this day is over, all of those who are participating will be a part of this 8-week follow-up program to help get them back on track. The curriculum will include goal setting, developing interpersonal skills, time management, financial literacy, and building self-esteem. In order for us to be able to get this done, our task force, our committee had to make sure in compliance with the state that they were able to be received into healthy households and to warm and affirming families. And so I'm appreciative for all of the donors. I'm grateful for all of the partners. I'm excited about all of the job possibilities, but none of this could happen without the support of the families that are present. And so I want to thank these families. At New Birth, would you help me thank them for standing in the gap to make this possible? Come on, we got to do better than that. As a special surprise to the families, I want you to know how intentional and involved New Birth is in the safeguarding of the development of your family. And that is, today we are glad to announce that all of the children of these returning citizens, all of the children of returning citizens, whether they're here today or not, but all of the children of the returning citizens, tomorrow we are opening, in the name of these children, college funds accounts for them at Citizens Trust Bank. Come on, will you give them an applause? Because we want to make sure that we disrupt a culture of recidivism, that they do not go back into the system in previous generations. One of the young men who is a bright light to this community and to this city helped challenge and sharpen this endeavor, and I'm appreciative for him. He is not unknown to anybody, but well, maybe your grandmama don't know who he is. But all the young people, all the young adults in the room know who he is. I've just been the pastor of New Birth for 120 days, so I'm new to Atlanta, new to DeKalb County, new to Stonecrest, but this young man is really a pillar to Atlanta. Yeah, there he is. He's a pillar to Atlanta, is a returning citizen himself. And he came to my office maybe 3 weeks, 4 weeks after I got here and said, I heard about the work that you did in Baltimore, but I want to see whether you're really committed to the people of this city. I didn't know who he was. I thought he was the deputy mayor, and he was calling me into accountability. And says, I want to challenge you to put that kind of integrity into the city of Atlanta. And I really didn't take him seriously. I didn't know anything about the show, about the program. I repent. I'm going to do better. I'm watching every episode this season. He really didn't get my attention until he told me that he was a Muslim. And when he came to me and said as a Muslim that this is a way in an area that Muslims and Christians can work together, I stepped up to the challenge. I believe that this is really doing this that we all do. I do Atlanta. I'd be embarrassed to introduce him, so I'm just going to present him. This is the son of this city. Would you all make some noise for him now?
First and foremost, Mr. Bryant, that introduction was extremely appreciated. You know what I'm saying? You said very, very nice words and kind words. I appreciate it. And before I introduce who I am, I want to thank Jamal Bryant again and New Birth Church for even allowing me to be a part of this and participate. You know, like he said, I just came home myself. I did a 3-year bid, and as soon as I heard that he was doing the prison reform and he was trying to assist in the Atlanta community, I had already been following him for what he did in Baltimore with the Meek Mill situation. So instantly, it was a no-brainer for me to be involved due to the fact of I owe this to my people. You understand? He just introduced me as Scrub De Leon from Love and Hip Hop. But more importantly, I'm a son, I'm a father, and I'm a brother. You know what I'm saying? Before any of that. And so, I want you all to give you all yourself a round of applause because I look around and this would not have been possible if we all did not unite and come together and assist in this right here. You understand? So give yourselves a round of applause and be proud. You understand? Be proud because it's a beautiful moment. And while I was in prison, I learned a lot. But what I seen most that affected me most was so many of the people looked just like me. You understand? They were black men. You understand? 95% of everybody in there were black men. So I was like, dang, these people really have a place to put us and hide us and take us away from our family. And the men are the pillar in the household. We are the providers, we are the protectors, we are the authority figures. So when you remove the man from the household, you are creating a broken home. You understand? And they know exactly what they're doing. So as the men, we have to step up. You understand? We have to step up. We can't even blame it on them. We have to step up. We have to be fathers to our sons and daughters. We can't let the streets do it. You understand? We can't let the streets do it because we know where that road will lead them. We have to be a husband to our wives. We have to respect them, treat them and be generous and treat them with compassion and gentleness. Because if we don't do it, nobody else will. You understand? And I was raised by my mom. I didn't have a father figure in my house. So everything I learned from a single black mother, single black woman. And when I see other single black women, I just have a real soft spot in my heart for them because y'all do a wonderful job. You understand? If you have children in here, give yourself a round of applause because it takes a lot for you all to do what you all do. You understand? And Mr. Bryant mentioned the book by Michelle Alexander called The New Jim Crow. I actually read that book, and that book was very informative, and it taught me like how things are meticulously planned to target us. You understand? Little things are meticulously planned to target us like he did. He just raised $120,000 to bail people out of jail on non-violent crimes. It shouldn't even be that many people in the county jail for things so petty. Suspended license, no seatbelt, possession of something under whatever it is. You understand? It's just so against us. But as people and as a team, what's the saying? It takes a village. It definitely takes a village, and like I said, I just want to thank you all for allowing me to speak and be a part of this. You understand? And anytime you have anything, it's a no-brainer, it's a phone call, and I love you all. And just give you all a round of applause because we did this together, right? I love you.
We have Pastor Jamal Bryant, the pastor of New Birth. We have attorney Yvonne Davis, who was our volunteer attorney who helped us out on this. We have Sylvia Gordon, her family member, nephew was released, and Scrap De Leon from Love and Hip Hop. So ask away and then we'll do one-on-one.
Pastor, when you came to this area, had you already, how much research went into determining the need here?
Well, it's not really just a local issue as much as it's a Black America issue. So the same problems that are in Atlanta, in Baltimore, Philly, Chicago, and Detroit. So I didn't know the hard data of this county or the city, but I knew that the problems were the same.
What more do you plan to do? I mean, you've done this today.
Yes.
Huge success, at least that's in my opinion.
Yes.
What more do you plan to do?
Well, I think what is most important is the aftercare. That I wanted to make sure that this was not just a press moment, but a real significant life-changing moment. Scrap has held me accountable to make sure that we have a program after this, that after this day is over. So the 8-week program that gets them in job readiness and preparedness and education backing is just as important.
Pastor Bryant, can you tell us how many actual inmates were bailed out and how many were able to come?
Yes. Yes, I think 23 were bailed out on today. Of that 23, I think 7 were females. And so we're excited about it. We wish there were more, but grateful that we were able to do that. We spent somewhere in the orbit of 100 and 510 on bailout, and all of the rest of the money that we've raised will go towards the college fund for the children of returning citizens.
Ma'am, talk about when you heard, I mean, you talked about it from the podium, but just how deeply affected are you by what this church has done?
Oh my goodness. Well, we really didn't know what we were going to do. We really didn't know what avenues to take, how to proceed when we found out that our loved one was incarcerated and for what he was incarcerated for. We just had no idea, and so we began to make phone calls, but we weren't really getting anywhere. And of course, our loved one, he was becoming distraught because all he had was clothes on his back. He came from the Charleston area and he got pulled over here and ended up being incarcerated, which was just such a shock for our family. And so a few days later, when we got the call from him saying this church is going to bail me out, it was phenomenal. It was so unexpected, and it was just such a wonderful thing. And so we just made arrangements to get down here as quickly as we could. You know, we weren't going to miss this opportunity to come and say thank you.
Absolutely.
And to, you know, to come and bring him home with us, which we would not have been able to do had it not been for New Birth and the work that Pastor Bryant and his faculty and his team have been doing, and with the help of, you know, all of the support, the lawyers and the bail bondsmen and all of the support that they've had to make all of this happen for so many families, not just ours, but for so many families. We are just so thankful.
Could you spell your first and last name for me, please?
Sylvia, Sylvia, and I'm representing the Gordon family, Gordon.
I just want to say, there's so many churches that necessarily haven't stepped up to the plate, by New Birth being one of the first that stepped up to the plate. Can anybody just say what that means to the community and how does it bring the community together?
I think this raises the standard of what church is supposed to look like. That 89% of what Jesus did was outside of the church. And what's happening today is 95% of everything is within the four walls. And I think if we're going to be the church, it's not a building, but it's our lifestyle.
Just to add to what he said, somebody has to take that first initiative step.
From Sylvia Gordon, would you come and share a bit of your story, please?
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. First, I just want to say, well, I thank God for being here, for allowing me and my sister to be here to get my nephew. I thank God for New Birth.
I had never heard of New Birth. Before I came here, we came down from Charleston, South Carolina. We got up early this morning and drove down. Just to back up a little bit, we got a phone call that our loved one was incarcerated, and we didn't know what we were going to do. He's out of state, and we don't know what the procedures are, and never having taken this route before, we just didn't know what to do. But, we have just such a strong faith, such a strong belief in God. So we went about doing what we knew to do. We didn't just sit on our hands and not do anything, because we're supposed to work while we wait as children of the King. Well, a few days later, bless the Lord, oh my soul, we got a phone call from our loved one. And he said, Mommy, guess what? This church is bailing me out. Funding and just what the logistics were going to be, we had no idea. Mommy, this church is bailing me out. Oh my God, you're kidding me. And we just began to praise the Lord, because he is good and he is greatly to be praised. So I just have to say, New Birth has reached far beyond your county. You've reached into our county. You've reached into our home. You've reached into our lives, into our hearts. And we are so appreciative. We thank you, Pastor Bryant. We thank you, New Birth. We just bless the Lord for you, for the work that you're doing. And we just pray that he will multiply your work and bless your hands as you do this work. We just thank you. And on behalf of so many other families, I know they're just as thankful as we are. We just thank you so much, and we just bless the Lord. Thank you.
Pastor, when you came to this area, had you already, how much research went into determining the need here?
Well, it's not really just a local issue as much as it's a Black America issue. So the same problems that are in Atlanta, in Baltimore, Philly, Chicago, and Detroit. So I didn't know the hard data of this county or the city, but I knew that the problems were the same.
What more do you plan to do? I mean, you've done this today.
Yes.
Huge success, at least that's in my opinion.
Yes.
What more do you plan to do?
Well, I think what is most important is the aftercare. That I wanted to make sure that this was not just a press moment, but a real significant life-changing moment. Scrap has held me accountable to make sure that we have a program after this, that after this day is over. So the 8-week program that gets them in job readiness and preparedness and education backing is just as important.
Pastor Bryant, can you tell us how many actual inmates were bailed out and how many were able to come?
Yes. Yes, I think 23 were bailed out on today. Of that 23, I think 7 were females. And so we're excited about it. We wish there were more. We're grateful that we were able to do that. We spent somewhere in the orbit of 100 and 510 on bailout, and all of the rest of the money that we've raised will go towards the college fund for the children of returning citizens.
Ma'am, talk about when you heard, I mean, you talked about it from the podium, but just how deeply affected are you by what this church has done?
Oh my goodness. Well, we really didn't know what we were going to do. We really didn't know what avenues to take, how to proceed when we found out that our loved one was incarcerated, and for what he was incarcerated for, we just had no idea. And so we began to make phone calls, but we weren't really getting anywhere. And of course, our loved one, he was becoming distraught because all he had was clothes on his back. He came from the Charleston area, and he got pulled over here and ended up being incarcerated, which was just such a shock for our family. And so a few days later, when we got the call from him saying this church is going to bail me out, it was phenomenal. It was so unexpected, and it was just such a wonderful thing. And so we just made arrangements to get down here as quickly as we could. You know, we weren't going to miss this opportunity to come and say thank you.
Absolutely.
And to come and bring him home with us, which we would not have been able to do had it not been for New Birth and the work that Pastor Bryant and his faculty and his team have have been doing, and with the help of all of the support, the lawyers and the bail bondsmen, and all of the support that they've had to make all of this happen for so many families, not just ours, but for so many families. We are just so thankful.
Could you
Ma'am,
spell
can
your first and last name for me, please?
Sylvia, Sylvia, and I'm representing the Gordon family, Gordon.
And I just want to say, there's so many churches that necessarily haven't stepped up to the plate, and by Newburgh being one of the first steps up to the plate, can anybody just say what that means to the community and how does it bring the community together?
I think this raises the standard of what church is supposed to look like. That 89% of what Jesus did was outside of the church. And what's happening today is 95% of everything is within the four walls. And I think if we're going to be the church, it's not a building, but it's our lifestyle.
Just to add to what he said, somebody has to take that first initiative step. Community, hopefully they follow his steps in doing what's right for our community, because we got to do it together. You can't do it all by himself. You understand? So that's why he reached out to me. Yes, Mr. Bryant, I'm 100% here.
Scrappy, talk about why this is so near and dear to you.
I actually just was released from prison. I did 3 years in prison, and like I said before, there were so many young black men in there who didn't have any support, who didn't have any help, who, if they did have any help, things could have been changed for them. So when the prison system, like you mentioned Michelle Alexander's book, it's just like, sometimes it's like we're targeted, you understand? So we have to make ourselves abreast of what's really going on to the laws and things of that nature. So it's just hit home. I'm young, I'm black, this is my community. So I'm involved every chance I can.
Dr. Bryant, you want to say something to your Newburgh family that helped raise so much money for this initiative?
I'm blown away by the Christ-like compassion of the members of Newburgh. They, in giving, didn't know this family from Charleston, South Carolina, didn't know that they were going to be able to bless people in 3 different counties. And I think that that's what God requires of all of us, is can we be gracious when there is no personal benefit? So many people around the world recognize Good Friday is the day that Jesus was on the cross. They recognize Sunday is when he rose again, but nobody pays attention to Saturday. Saturday is Holy Saturday, and it's called Holy Saturday because that's the day Jesus went to hell. And it's amazing no church recognizes it because churches don't want to go to hell. And I think that we've got to go there in order to set people free who otherwise would be lost and consumed from a society that discards them.
Any other questions?
Okay, so what we're doing one-on-one for Pastor